a very good morning to you. You were on set with me some time ago when you released your book, and I'm just wondering how you feel knowing that some of the perpetrators have been arrested. Is this what you knew?
Look, okay, thank you. Yes, Ben, thank you for the opportunity. Look, of course, it's mixed feelings with no intention to be the enemy of the state or whatsoever. I mean, having met the family, I mean, so many people yesterday saw Mama Meyiwa was crying and complaining that this is a cover-up and all of that. I mean, when we wrote our story, we wanted to ensure that, we also help the family to discover what truly happened, and we put in the worst-case hypothesis. Yes, there are things like the fact that the minister has confirmed that it was not robbery. In fact, when we wrote the book, in the first 5-10 pages, we were able to prove that it was not a robbery. One, no cell phones were lost. And we mentioned in the book that even Senzo's cell phone, the family gave it to me to say I can use it to write the book, but however, we could not open it. So it's a great move. We're hoping to see what's going to happen at the court today. But again, it's some of the things that we've already discovered and knew that for one, it was not robbery. And what we didn't know as authors of the book was that it was a hit.
Soweto, do you think there might be some gaps here that have been intentionally left out, or just some gaps that are confusing? Because I'm sure you do remember that when first Senzo was tragically killed, I remember there was a picture which was doing the rounds, which was of a potential suspect, and then we're hearing about this alleged robbery within the house. Then there was, the gun that was then allegedly discovered, which could have been used to kill Senzo. It seems there might be differing sort of like stories that we're hearing that have led to this announcement. What do you make about, the overall journey of this murder investigation leading to this moment today?
The general concern, from our side with Senzo's case is, of course, the inconsistencies that have been going on from the start. If you leave the case aside, come to the fact that we wrote a book. We interviewed Senzo's sister, Nokuthula, interviewed Sifiso. Nokuthula said the first call she received was from Kelly telling her that Senzo has been shot by a mistake, protecting her, and we interviewed the Siania, who said he got a call saying that Senzo was shot by a mistake by Zandi's boyfriend. Those are just some of the information that we're getting. And if you look into the build-up of the case now, and you go back into that information, raw as it is, it could be meaningless into the court session, but it then just begin to not even make sense. So what we received in the beginning, i.e. the calls as they happen during the incident as it happens, and what we are getting as a feedback now, it doesn't correlate. You know what I'm saying? But as I said again, we don't stand to be the enemy of the state and to say this is correct, this is not correct. But we're just saying, based on the information that we received and put in the book, obviously it was through interviews with these people, we trust that they were honest. But if they gave us different information as they could have given the police, of course, then we are going to have a different conclusion in the book. But the two are not, they do not make sense.
There's so many factors here and sensitivities, and people, as you mentioned, were talking about a cover-up and that somebody quite high up there has been protected. Were you ever threatened when you were doing this book?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you on that one.
Were you ever threatened when you were putting together this book, when you were seeking information and answers?
Yeah, look, we dealt with that scenario that there could be a cover-up in this. In one of the books...
Yeah, but sorry, let me just jump in. I'm just wondering whether you were ever threatened, where your job was made a lot harder by specific individuals out there.
Yes. A lot of times I've spoken about the threats. When we started, even before we published the book, a certain newspaper was able to leak that out. And that's where we got the threats from. at some point we were just walking out in a very dark place somewhere in Durban on Florida Road, and a man came and approached me and said, "You better stop this if you still want to live." I mean, I can't say some of the things that they say, but things as we're gonna kill, we're gonna rape you first, we're gonna shoot you in the head, and some other things that I can't say on live TV. At some point, I mean, we're getting threats from your fake accounts, your fake Instagram, your fake Twitter, all of those things. But we just managed to be persistent and say, look, if Senzo died, I mean, if they kill me, they kill me. We can't stop them. So we continued with that and updated the family on such threats.
Soweto, I'm not sure if you were at liberty to speak to Senzo Meyiwa's father before he passed on, and I think he's one of the first, close family members that even perhaps South Africans thought about, to say that unfortunately he had passed on without seeing justice for his son's murder. If you were at liberty or to speak to him or even Senzo's mother, do they believe, what the police is telling them? What was Senzo's last, or rather Senzo's father's last opinion in terms of what could have happened, what he wanted to see, including his mother in this instance, as we've just heard from the minister speaking yesterday?
Thank you for that. I mean, first, certainly, we wanted to publish the book while he was alive. I mean, the men didn't really see justice, because even from our side, we delayed, in terms of getting interviews, such as getting Kelly to be interviewed. What he wanted to see was just basic justice being done for his son, and as I said to you, this links back to what we spoke about in the beginning. The Meyiwa family believed in the story they received, rightly so, in the beginning, and that emanates from the call they received. So anything other than what moves outside the first story, they are not going to believe it. You know what I'm saying? So he wanted that, and one of the main things that he said to me, he said, Soweto, as a family, you know that we can't pay you for writing this book, but make sure that the legacy and the name of my son does not die. So when we wrote the book, we had that let's push this, let's make it happen so that Senzo's name doesn't die. And that's why even now we want to record this conversation so that we do the second volume and keep Senzo's name alive. I mean, as far as Senzo's mom is concerned, for me, it's sad, because I've seen Senzo's father walking on a journey of slow death. The man was dying. At some point when you're writing a book, he takes out a handkerchief from his pocket. It was strange, wet. The man had been crying before I came, and when we started the interview, the man was crying. He was walking this slow journey of death, and seeing his wife, also Senzo's mother, now walking the same journey, it's been so happy. We've only done as much as we could in terms of royalties and try to be there for the family, just to comfort them, because we cannot bring in Senzo. But the truth is, I mean, Mama Meyiwa also doesn't believe the current story. She believes that there's a cover-up, and I think people would have seen it in the news.
Okay, so let me ask you about that. I mean, do you believe, without naming any names, that it was somebody close to him who could have been the mastermind, who could have pulled the trigger?
Look, let me just put it this way. This is what happens from the interviews. Longe arrives late when they have finished eating, okay? And they say they tried greeting Longe, but Longe was kind of mad, because Longe had been wanting to talk to Zande and Kelly. He couldn't get them. So he comes in the house, and then Zande's mom or Kelly's mom either dishes up for him, and then he eats alone. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, the story says he went out and came back, and at some point, right when he came back, that's when the two guys came in, and then the fight occurred. So it was very hard for us, because we didn't want to believe anything. We wanted to write the story. So we don't know if anybody in the house was part of it. But as the story says, if you read the book towards the end, it just, before Senzo dies, it just gets cold, even before he's shot, and there's something in there, but we didn't want to make any conclusions. We wanted to allow the court to make its own conclusion.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sabelo Soweto Mandlanzi, author of the book narrating Senzo's life, but also his last moments, talking to us there about what could have happened. This according to some of the evidence, some of the calls, interviews that he had as he was writing that book.